I'm like, he didn't rough the passer. He tapped him on the helmet. It was something. It happened like last week or something, but it was, man, the penalty calling just needs to be fixed in general. Targeting. What game was it? It was like the Rutgers game or something. No, it was the Illinois Purdue game. I think it was. Where somebody hit somebody in the helmet and they were like, yeah, it's a targeting call. And I was like, yeah, that's targeting. He intentionally just led with his helmet and hit him. Yes, I would call that targeting. And the announcers were like, I don't think you pull him out for this big of a game. And I'm like, yeah, doesn't matter. That's more of a penalty where, yes, you should kick him out of the game. That was definitely a bad penalty that he messed up. Yes, he messed up. I honestly don't think it should be for the game. I think it should be for a quarter or two. Let them think about what they just did. And then we can let him back in the game. If he continues to do it, then yes, game suspension. I'm all for it. I don't think we need to suspend this guy for a whole game because he accidentally hit up. I think what the Illinois player did wasn't intentional. I don't think it was intentional. He was just leading with the crown of the helmet and he forgot. He should be suspended for 2 quarters, let back in the game. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I think we're gonna, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Josh Pate, when he becomes commissioner, that'll be my first thing I'll talk to him about. But now we're into the games of the week. We have a lot of games happening this week. Big games. Oregon Purdue's not one of them, but I just put them on here. Oregon cannot go back to before the Ohio State game. They need to stay at the Ohio State game and just maul and push Purdue over. Purdue almost won last week. That was crazy. I watched the game. What a game against Illinois. But they need to just squash any hope that Purdue has right now. Just mull them over and just run them over. It actually starts in 8 minutes. So, yeah, if Oregon can do what they did to Ohio State, Purdue is not as physical as Ohio State's going to be. Oregon can easily win this by 40 if they want to. It's going to be if they really want to, and if they're not having that off week. It's in West Lafayette. We know what happens to the number 2 team in West Lafayette. It happened 2 times in the same year. It was Michigan State and Ohio State did it. No, it was Iowa and Michigan State in back-to-back weeks in Purdue. They lost both times. Purdue beat Ohio State, who was number 2. So big teams do lose in West Lafayette. It happens. I honestly think Purdue is like the upset. I would say Purdue is the upset city or the upset school, the biggest one. ASU's had some big ones. But yeah, I think West Lafayette is a bad place to be, especially ranked number 2, especially since we've had 2 number 2s loss. Georgia. I think it was Georgia. I think Georgia was number 2. But Ohio State, too. So, Oregon's gotta lock in, play tough. They can definitely win this game. But West Lafayette, it's different. It is different over there. I have to talk about this. BYU, if they can win, I'm going to look at this. If they win at least 5 of their next 6, they're in. They have played the bad part of their schedule. They beat Kansas State. They beat Arizona, who were both talently favored to win the Big 12, and they failed. Oklahoma State's another one that was heavily favored to win, but they're failing. UCF's going to be difficult, and Utah's obviously going to be difficult. But then you got Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston. Very winnable games. I get it's 3 away games to end your season. This is manageable. I can see BYU going to the Big 12 championship. I can see them winning it. The problem I have with this is BYU is going to be a number 4 seed. They're going to get a playoff bye. If they get a team like Tennessee or, let's think, we'll go Tennessee, Ole Miss. One of those teams, I can't see BYU winning. That's the problem with this, is because BYU is on this miracle run that TCU had. But the thing is, they're not playing anybody. They're not playing anybody good. I mean, Kansas State is good. Don't get me wrong. Kansas State is good. Beating them up by 29 was a fluke game for them. And it just... And then they beat Baylor close. They did beat Arizona pretty badly last week. That was Noah Fafita. Why didn't you transfer? When Jed Finch transferred, you should have transferred to Washington. That was a mistake that he didn't transfer. That is one of the things where I think the transfer portal definitely benefits that quarterback or that scheme, because Arizona could have been good, or Washington could have been good with Noah Fafita. And now Washington, I don't even know. I don't check Washington all that much. I check the Beavers. But no, BYU's schedule is very, very... It can be very easy for them to go undefeated. But again, that's also the problem, is that they're going to run through the schedule that's not good anymore. I thought Kansas was going to be good. They've won 1 game this year. They're back to where they started. Like, the culture there is gone. And I don't know what happened, but it's just, yeah. I don't really know. Clemson's doing good. I don't know, because they didn't really beat Florida State all that badly, and then obviously they got absolutely mauled by Georgia. So I don't know how big Clemson really is. Once we get to the Miami-Clemson game, then I'll talk about it. I'll talk about Clemson, but right now they're just there. They're happening. And then we go to this game, which is interesting to me because Indiana is back to Michael Penix Jr. days, 2020 COVID year. They're 6-0. They're about to play Nebraska. This game is going to be very, very interesting to me because Indiana beats Nebraska, Dylan Raiola. I think Indiana's got a shot. They've got a chance. Of course, it's going to be like 2020 again, where they got to play Ohio State, but they play them at home. Again, it's the same thing as 2020. It's going to be, can you out-physical Ohio State? And if Ohio State loses that game, all bets are off that Ohio State's going to the Big Ten championship. I'm calling it right now. No way Ohio State can make it if they lose 2 games. If they lose 2 games, Ryan Day's gone. I don't even think Ryan Day's still in Ohio State. I think Ryan Day's gone. So, just things are happening, and it's weird, and people are bringing up 2007 again. I don't like it, but it's the world we live in. I think Nebraska definitely plays a better offense than Indiana does. Indiana's offense has worked against some pretty bad teams, but I think it still works. I think Indiana can still win this game. Definitely, but I think Nebraska can out-physical them. They can outplay them, especially with what we're seeing from Dylan Raiola. He's amazing. Nebraska is going to go to its first bowl game in years because they didn't go last year somehow. But no, Nebraska's going. Nebraska's going to go to a bowl game at least, unless they absolutely flatline again. And then I call into question quarterback, well, not quarterback. I call into question head coach and your offensive coordinator, because that's